Without Ben.
Got 3 members out of 5
Oh, to start.
to start.
Let's hope we find Ben quickly then. Okay, good evening. I'm Jeff York. I'm the head of the Jericho DRB, and we are 2 minutes after 7. We'll go ahead and start the meeting. The agenda tonight, we have 3 items. We have 1 item of old business, which is a continuation from January 11th. That's a request to the DRB for a plot review on 91 Governor Peck Road. We have 2 items of new business. 1 is a request to the DRB by Don and Bonnie Morin for a sketch review for the redevelopment of 37 River Road into a possible 8-lot subdivision, including the existing structures. We also have a request by Marjorie Hunt's Living Trust with Martha Prince for a final plat review for a proposed 2-lot residential subdivision. So this would be a final review. Was no preliminary there, and this is on Orr Road extension in the Village zoning district. And then we have an item of approving the minutes from January 11th, 2023. Then we'll join the public meeting and go into deliberative session. Then should we take care of the agenda item now?
Yeah, we have to amend the agenda.
Okay, so we'd like to move the new business item. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Well, I would like to put forward that we move the old business to the end of new business. We expect to continue that, but I put out a motion that we move the continuation request to after the new business. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Anybody?
Let me just explain to the public what's gone on. Is the Governor Peck project was not prepared for tonight's hearing. They've asked to be heard at the next available hearing, which is tentatively, which is scheduled for February 22nd. And so the board has now moved and seconded a motion to take that old business and continue it to February 22nd. So there really won't be any presentation, testimony, or presentation on that matter till the 22nd, because the applicant is not currently prepared to move forward. So if you were here for that hearing, it's not going to happen tonight, and it will be scheduled for February 22nd under old business. I apologize to people whose evenings have been interrupted by that, but that request came in last night at around 5:30. And it makes no sense to try to hear the project if they're not prepared. If they're not prepared, it doesn't serve anybody in that fashion. So that's why it's being moved to the 22nd of February.
Thanks, Chris.
Anybody who's online, you're welcome to stay online, or you can drop off. So we have a motion and a second. We need to get a vote on that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Ben, good to hear from you. So just one quick explanation because of conflicts of interest. The first item of new business by Don and Bonnie Morin, Joe will recuse himself from that one. And the second one, Andrew will recuse himself from that one. So it's a small town.
Musical
Okay.
chairs.
So this proceeding will be conducted in an orderly manner consistent with the DRB's rules of procedure. Written copies of the rules of procedure are available, but we'll walk you through the process. You don't need a copy to participate. So we just want to ask if there's been any ex parte communication for the board between the board members on any of these items.
No.
No. Ben? we will follow up with Ben.
Any conflicts?
No conflicts.
Okay. I'm going to read the interested parties statement. So we do this at every meeting to define who is an interested party in case of an appeal. So interested parties are those who under Vermont law have the right to appeal an act or decision of the Jericho zoning administrator or the DRB. These interested parties include the applicant, or if the applicant does not own the property, the person owning title to the property. A person owning or occupying property in the immediate neighborhood of a property that is the subject of any zoning decision or act who can demonstrate a physical or environmental impact on the person's interest under the criteria reviewed and alleges that the decision or act if confirming will violate the municipal plan or bylaw. And the third group of interested persons is any 10 persons, either voters or landowners, who by signed petition to the DRB allege that the decision or act if confirmed will violate the municipal plan or bylaw. Petitioners must designate one person to serve as a representative. Why is this important? Though many members of the public may be interested in a zoning permit or application, only statutorily defined interested persons may appeal a decision of a zoning board or DRB. If an interested person fails to make a timely appeal, they are bound by the decision by the officer or DRB. Interested persons must participate in a hearing to protect their appeal rights. Only those interested persons who have participated in a DRB proceeding may appeal a decision re-entered in that proceeding in environmental court. Pursuant to state statute, participation consists of offering through oral or written testimony, evidence or a statement of concern related to the subject of the proceeding. If there was to be an appeal of the work we do tonight, the DRB does not determine who is an interested person. That is part of the appeal process. But we do need to establish who participated in the hearing. To help with that, we ask you two things. Please sign in to the sign-in sheets, or if you're participating by video, please provide your contact information in the meeting chat or by email to the zoning administrator. Second, when you speak in the hearing, please tell us your name loud and clear so that we can record that in the meeting minutes. So this is a quasi judicial hearing. So all those who intend to speak must be sworn in. I will read the oath. Those who are here, please say I do. Those participating remotely are soon to be sworn in. So I will read the oath. I hereby swear that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. Thank you. So our first item is by John and Bonnie Morin for a sketch review on the redevelopment of 37 River Road. And who's going to be presenting?
David Burke, Larry Burke. Don and Bonnie Morin are here as well. So their parcel is at 37 River Road. It's a 1.56 acre parcel. It's the larger two-story brick building, kind of diagonally from the school. So it's the and on the east end of the school property across River Street or River Road. The building is currently a 5-bedroom and 2-bedroom unit. Has a recently new wastewater permit for a septic system that had previously been replaced. And it has a newer, I'll call it a barn behind it. Again, it's across from the school, kind of on the west side of the Morin's property. The Morins would like to, they're intending to move to this property. And when they contacted me, they simply wanted to build a home on the east side of their parcel.
Whatever that plan.
No, it's okay. Kind of where lot 3 is shown. They were looking at, can we build a home here? And I said, well, good news, bad news. You can build a home there, but the zoning is pretty aggressive in this area. So the zoning in this area is village center, but it has the character district 4 overlay. And the character district 4 has no minimum lot size, but it does have a minimum, has restrictions on lot size by width. Minimum 18 feet wide, maximum 70 feet wide. And, so to come up with conformance, you get into the designated types of streets, and what shows here are alleys, which is the appropriate designation for the proposal. The one that's up on the sheet, on the screen now is master plan sheet 1A. We met with Chris a couple times, how do we get to the point of this being workable for the Morins, yet also meeting the regulations? We ended up doing 2 sheets for sketch. You get the master plan that shows 8 lots, 4 lots on each side, including the existing home. On each side, there's a septic lot. Lot 8 is a septic lot that would serve lot 5, 6, and 7. And lot 3 is a septic lot that would serve lot 1, 2, and 3. That's to meet the lot width requirements, because lot 4 would be too wide if that was part of lot 4, etc. So if you go to sheet 1, Chris, I call that one sketch plan. And initially, because the Morins weren't intending to develop the property to this extent, and initially, at this point, this would be the expectation, is that the east side of the development would be done kind of as a phased master plan. That the master plan shows what would be done on the west side in the future, either by the Morins, or if they sold that lot by somebody else. It shows that lot 5 can conform to the regulations upon further subdivision. And this would give the Morin's intent would be that they would likely build on lot 4. They would maintain lot 3, so they'd have a little bit of space around them. And lot 1 and 2 would be available because we can't develop the east side with just lot 3 and 4. We wouldn't meet your CD4 requirements. So the CD4 requirements, as I've said, are quite aggressive. The lot has good soils. It's got a good location. So I understand what Jericho is looking for in that area. The staff notes, because we're in for sketch, we received, and because it's sketch, obviously there's just kind of stating the facts that I just went over. One thing that I've understood since the submission is that, and I'll be going over this with the Morins before we move forward. If we do the proposal that's in front of you, and it's a phased master plan, Chris says we'll need to have some kind of a small community component. The public component ends up being the sewage lots, but then there might need to be a little pocket park or something. So that may dictate whether we do this as phased or not phased. But when we come in the next time, we would either be showing you that this is still what we want to do, and this is how we're going to fully meet the regulations, or whether they've decided to bite the bullet and do all 8. I think it'll be the former, because again, this started off by them just wanting to do one additional home out here, and your regulations just don't allow it. They do allow lot 1 and 2 not to be developed on right off, but you've got to understand tax burdens, and it's likely that they wouldn't sit there very long before they'd be sold off. But that's the proposal. You can see on this sheet, Chittenden East, the east end, northeast end of the school property, and single family homes around. The old mill property you've certainly seen plenty of, and they've looked at larger scale, similar type. They're in the same CD4 district. The Bartlett property to the east, if that's ever to be redeveloped, would be up against the same, I shouldn't say up against the same hurdle. It's arguably a good issue, but it's an issue if you're not trying to develop at this extent. So that's the proposal.
So I'm gonna speak.
Sure.
I have a medical,
Just introduce yourself, Don. So
Don Morin. I have a medical issue. I was diagnosed with long-term progressive something, and my communication is affected. So excuse me for that. So our plan is to build a home at the Jericho property when I get incapable of speaking, and I own Bonnie is my wife, and I own a home in Richmond. And eventually I'm going to have to move out of the home. And so that's good. So we would rent or live there at Unit 4, Lot 4. And it allows us to plan for the future with Bonnie, you want to speak?
Not really. I'm Bonnie Morin, I'm Don's wife. The one thing that I just,
Bonnie, we can get just so the mic can pick you up for the
Yes.
people in the audience, please.
yes,
Or on the internet or wherever they are.
yes.
Okay.
Bonnie Morin. And I just wanted to say that we restored the brick house very lovingly. Don and I did a lot of the work ourselves, the downstairs and the upstairs. We have wonderful tenants in the downstairs unit and the upstairs unit. And we didn't want to change the integrity of that lot because it's a beautiful old brick building. And I'm not sure what year it is, but it's lovely inside. And so we didn't want to put the driveway too close to the building itself because we wanted to maintain that lovely porch. And so we do have thought processes about this original lot, just so you know.
And Dave is correct. When we were aiming for a larger plot of land, but so it's
Yeah,
not
so
possible.
the plan that's up there now does with the constraints of the regulations or the aggressiveness of the regulations for this particular zone, it gets the Morins as close as we can get. You know, the phased master plan. You know, I kind of thought that lot 5 should be able to stay just the way it is forever, for however long it wants to be, because it is a nice old brick house. And one of the things, you know, the Morins would have preferred that the alley is even further away, but I've got it at the maximum amount because there's minimum and maximum setbacks, and they're not large in the CD4 district. So the sideline, the westerly sideline of that alley is at the maximum distance from the porch to keep the integrity of that existing parcel. And initially, the access for that initial parcel would stay the way it is instead of coming off on the master plan. There's another alley that comes in, you know, behind the house, and the access would be changed at that point so that there wouldn't be a second access on River Road.
Is that a reg issue? Is that just the desire to?
It's a general reg issue. I don't know if I guess at that time, if they wanted to keep it, I could look at that closer. In general, in every reg, including your own, is limit curb cuts. But I think once the alley was there, my guess is that probably the regulations will push that driveway to, goes to that alley anyway, would probably just push the reverse. And I don't know that that would really change the integrity of that house at that point. But so we don't, in the foreseeable future, as far as the phase master plan, the Morins don't see lots 6, 7, and 8 happening at any particular point. It's just to show that, full build out of this parcel gets us to full conformance. And Chris was helpful in that, it's arguably a good problem in that I understand, but as soon as you start touching the parcel, that CD4 is the regulation that you've got to abide by.
And is it on wells or is it on Champlain water?
This is on municipal water.
Municipal water.
Okay.
That existing on lot 8 where it shows that system serves the 5-bedroom and 2-bedroom on lot 5. And then there would be enough room left over there to show septic for 6 and 7. As I show it now, you can kind of see, but lots 1 and 2, again, these are not large lots, they're small lots. Lot 1 and 2, actually, I just say lot 1 system, lot 2 system, lot 4 system on lot 3. But I've got both of those just size wise, those are sized at 2-bedroom for lot 1 and lot 2 at this point. We may look at that again, but these are smaller homes. They would access, as you can see there, they access from the back, which that might answer your question more, Jeff. The CD4 district pushes you to access from rear alleys and such.
I think the long and short of it with regards to the the existing structure and the existing curb cut, we probably couldn't take it away.
Okay.
Probably couldn't because you got a conforming lot with a pre-existing curb cut. From a design standpoint, would it be better? Well, maybe it would because you have a bigger front lawn. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but that's something that can be addressed.
Yeah.
When appropriate.
So Dave, this is this is a new septic you've mentioned here on the left.
I don't have the exact year it was put in, but it's a newer septic. It wasn't by our office, but it's it's not that old of a system that received a state wastewater permit for the 5-bedroom plus the 2-bedroom.
So is it just a replacement trench next to the former one, or is it in a different
I
location?
want to say both of those trenches are in use. So what happens is we'll have to look at more with this subdivision, but what happens if you just look at this as a 1.56 acre parcel, you just come up with a replacement area. You don't need to come up with both. As soon as you subdivide it, now we need to say, okay, now where's the future replacement? So that may have to be looked at, and it might just be a matter that, that remains to be seen. We have not done, because there was a relatively recent wastewater system, the soils, the known soils in that area, the map soils in that area, and I reviewed the wastewater permit. We haven't done backhoe test pits yet ourselves, but the results from that system were good.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, if they were to future subdivide this side, then a replacement trench would have to be considered.
No, as soon as we take any land away, so if we just do the east side, we will have to come up with a replacement area, future replacement area for that home.
Gotcha. So any subdivision at all.
Any, even if we sold 10 feet to the more than 2% of the parcel to the Bartlett's, did a boundary line adjustment, state wastewater permitting would be triggered.
Okay.
the existing septic tank, and it's a pump station and a leach
These all in ground, are they mounds?
It's in ground.
in that.
It's kind of gravelly sands in that area. I reviewed at the time, and it's a conventional in-ground system that was approved, which suggests that it's greater than 5 foot depth. But I don't recall exactly if they had any groundwater evidence.
And speaking of groundwater, just a general question about, I think that the site is relatively flat.
Yeah.
But if you could speak to stormwater management, as the site gets developed and we're proposing potentially, 8 lots on the site, how would you foresee planning the strategy for stormwater management?
Well, it's relatively flat, but you can see the 700 contours on the east side of the parcel, 695 on the west side. So most of that drop is on the 75 feet within that west side. But you could certainly plan for some stormwater component over there. I have not done the calculations. It might reach a half an acre. So the state rules have changed from 1 acre to half an acre. By the time you build out the alley and the homes for 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's a good question, because that's something we will want to look at even without those lots, to see, are we at that half acre trigger? If not, we would just be looking at infiltration components anyway. And if we are, we'd probably be looking at the exact same thing, except it would trigger a state permit.
So the alley will be privately owned? Is that the way that works?
The alley is privately owned, is my understanding from Chris. You can see it goes all the way to the property line,
Uh-huh.
but the Morins maintain control for connection to it. So it's similar to the other parcel that we did off of over by the Jacobs
Martell.
store, the Martell property. That the alleys are required to go to the property lines, but they're not required to be public. So there's still some exercise of control when connection, if and when connection comes.
The idea of that from a planning standpoint is as there's infill 50 years from now, there's that ability to have that connection if needed, as opposed to trying to get it. So planning for the future and connectivity, whether it ever comes to fruition or not, is sort of a wait and see.
But it has to be renegotiated with the.
Well, if
adjacent
it's
developer.
privately held, then yeah, there has to be discussion. So,
So there'll be some kind of maintenance agreement for the one.
There'd
2,
have
and
to be a
4.
shared maintenance agreement, and there'd have to be, initially, it'd be a shared maintenance agreement between lot 1, 2, and 4.
Mhm.
And it would have to be written that other lots could be added to that maintenance agreement at a future date.
And so lot 5 is going to continue to keep its existing driveway?
That's the proposal, yes.
And that's a barn structure currently? Or is
That's
it
a barn structure, a newer barn structure. It's metal, right?
Yeah, it's wood,
Okay,
no
no floor.
dirt floor.
Yeah. dirt
Yeah.
floor, yeah. So the Morins they hope to be able to maintain the home on lot 5 as a rental unit. And initially, like I said, they intend that when they need to, that they can build a home that accommodates Don on lot 4. They would still control, even though lot 3 is for lot 1, 2, and 4, they would still control lot 3. And they would still own lot 5. So he likes the idea of having the barn across from him, so he can still have some space.
I got a tractor.
Yeah.
too space for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Right, Bonnie?
We all need our space.
The man cave would be out there, yeah.
So do we have an issue with a second curb cut on the property?
this is a new, so the answer is no, because they're creating a lot. So they're creating a lot, so there is a right of way for an alleyway servicing these areas. There's an existing curb cut that pre-exists that will serve this lot. So the short answer is no, you're not, we're not having, the answer is no.
So the right of way will be part of lot 4.
It's going to be a dedicated, look, as it's shown here, it looks like it's a dedicated right of way to itself.
I believe it has to be onto itself.
Yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't, I
No.
would suggest that the westerly line could be an easement line, and it could be part of lot 5. But the areas that are shown on that plan have it as a separate
Okay,
piece.
so because it's a
I
separate
think
lot,
it's
therefore
probably-
it's allowed its own curb cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say it's probably better to keep it as a separate piece, because that's more in keeping with the requirements of going to the property line instead of lot 5 still having maybe a little bit too much control of it.
Just as a reference for the board, this application is very similar to the Tetro Old Mill application, where basically we saw the master plan where the whole property can come into conformance, right, with the rules and regulations. And they were not at that point in time ready to go to that plan. So they went to a phase plan around the mill, which showed street system and infrastructure to support the development, as well as a public amenity. And that went through preliminary, and this represents that sort of phasing concept, where the other plan says, yes, the whole property can come into compliance, but we're not requiring them to do it all at once. And that's what that provision is allowed in the regulations under the character-based zone.
So that part's similar, but obviously it's a much simpler project than the old mill.
So another thing I'm curious about that you mentioned, Dave, was the community component and what that might look like in the future. And also part of this question too is, I don't know, as part of the regs, are sidewalks required as part of this, and or could they be considered? I think that grander vision of creating connectivity, right, is about walkable community. Just curious what your thoughts are.
I don't have an answer to that right now. I don't think,
I think we talked about it, and I don't believe sidewalks are required as part of an alley. The question would be, if it was proposed, could that meet the amenity? Because what happens between, we're in for sketch. What's going to happen between now and then is that if this sheet right here is the way that the Morins want to stay, my understanding is from Chris is that we will need to come up with some type of community component. I would certainly believe, I would trust that staff and board would look at that in context of a 1.56 acre parcel, and that the pocket park or whatever it is, it would have to be pretty minimal to meet that standard for this parcel. If a sidewalk meets that standard, that would be interesting. So we'll continue to be in touch with staff on how to meet that requirement. If not, and the Morin said, well, let's just do all 8 lots, then there's no community component required. So it's just because of the if you phase the master plan, that's where your regulations bring it in. It's kind of weird, but so we don't know what it'll be yet.
and I think with the larger scale projects, if they do it all, then all of a sudden those types of amenities are worked into the project itself, not a 1.5 acre parcel. It doesn't, the phasing doesn't have a whole lot of detail or directive because of the way it's set up. But the whole intent basically is, instead of making them take a non-compliant plot and increasing the non-compliance, or making it somewhat compliant, somewhat not compliant, we can show from a master plan standpoint, the whole thing can be compliant with the rules is what is the intent. And they can do it in a stepped approach.
I had attempted a discussion with Chris on lot 5 is usually in zoning. you're allowed to get things closer to conformance. And by developing the east side, lot 5 is closer to conformance. Is it conforming? No, it's not conforming to CDB4, but it is going in the right direction. But the feedback was, we still need to show, you know, that it can get to full conformance.
Andrew brought up a question of site development for community. So what does that mean?
We're gonna have more discussion. We're not entirely sure at this point. A little pocket park can be a very small component, or, you know, sometimes it's a gazebo, it's
Okay,
some kind of
and the percentage?
no, that's where I say that it would be up to staff and board to consider what's being proposed if it meets the intent of the regulations. You know, that a community component for this parcel certainly should look different than a community component for the old mill.
Okay.
So we'll have those discussions and part of that.
It'll be proportional.
Yeah.
And what we'll probably want to look at too is we have sort of a master plan concept for the abutting neighbor.
Okay.
We should look at that just to make sure that what's being, things dovetail from a neighbor's.
I really like the idea I believe that when I look through the regulations and think early on when we had a discussion, I don't believe a sidewalk is a requirement. I would like to think a sidewalk could meet that community requirement, and that would be something that would work here if you had a 4-foot sidewalk on the westerly side of the alley. You know, it would complement the house on lot 5, and but we'll discuss.
Because there's an existing sidewalk along here on 15,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
Yep.
there's a nice
There is.
sidewalk
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so those,
So
so,
we
yeah,
we need to show more level of detail, obviously, at the next step.
at least it's a clear picture.
Yeah.
So there's no wetland or natural resource overlay on this.
No, it's just a dry, gravelly, sandy lot.
Okay. Ben, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Anything else, Andrew?
I think that was it.
Chris, do you have anything else you want to?
No, you want to see if anybody in the public here has got.
All right, we'll go to the people in the room. Are there any public comments, questions on this? There are none. Let's see if there are any online.
Anybody who's online, if you have a question, I guess there's a thing where you can raise your hand and we'll bring you into the meeting if you have a question. Going once. Going twice. Doesn't look it.
Okay,
So just a question for, let's say the subdivision goes through, I know in this district, with there being development standards for the buildings, that would be a completely separate thing. Is that, when is it administrative versus when it would be reviewed by a board? In terms of
For the structure,
for the structures?
if the subdivision's approved and it's an allowed use, it wouldn't come to you guys.
But a building permit, it would be looked at.
A
to
building
meet
permit,
the
yeah. So basically,
requirements.
there's, for structures, even redevelopments, there's a thing called the development plan, which basically walks, you got to answer questions like what's the siding, what's the roof pitch, all these types of things.
Yeah.
And those things need to be met for me to be able to issue a permit. It's different than outside the district where people will provide a site plan with setbacks, and hopefully we'll get floor plans and elevations. And if it meets the setbacks, then we don't care. Or we don't, I shouldn't say we don't care. We don't ask those questions. We're in the character-based zone. There are limits on types of materials and uses and things along those lines. And that need to be met for the regulations for a permit to be issued.
Gotcha.
If it's a conditional use in a structure, then it would end up going to the DRB, for review. for the use and or structure.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how that would play out.
I do have a request from the Lister's office downstairs that, that you work with them on names for these, that they are.
I will name
Contact
them
early.
whatever they want if they don't charge taxes on lots 1 and 2.
Apparently it's quite a 9/11 process.
Yeah, no.
Make sure 9/11 process to
Yeah,
make sure that
we'll
the
need,
names aren't
we'll need
reused,
at
right?
least, looks like they might even want us to give a third name for the driveway for lot 1 and 2. I'm not sure, but we can check with them, and once you have some names, we provide them to them and they make sure that they don't conflict with Jericho and area towns kind of. But
We'll make sure that the fire trucks come to the right place.
yeah.
You have the opportunity to get even with people like name things.
There you go. Okay, is there, one more question, is there a planting blueprint that's required for this?
I'm sure there is landscape requirements. We haven't gotten into any of that. I'm not sure in this district, I'm not sure this application required a sketch plan.
That sketched for that information?
No, a sketch is optional in Jericho. Did this even require a sketch? But at sketch level, we don't typically have the landscaping.
Okay, we appreciate you coming in and offering us
I-
an early view.
I always want to
Great.
come in and get feedback early on.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, from staff standpoint, the applicants, has done well to address the base core issues of the district. And I think with everything possibly going around in future infill, it's a good little, it's going to be a good little project when the area grows into itself.
I do think it'd be a good project.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Chris has been good.
You did too, Don. I'm gone February 8th. For a few days.
Okay.
So, but I'm around
You
the next.
still haven't, so there's going to be a hearing? No, I've got 2 hearings on February 8th in Colchester.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to let you know, if you want to track me down around.
Oh, yeah.
whatever your next step is.
No, we kind of have to wait until spring to do the test pits and
Okay,
from there.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I know somebody's got a strong back would be big.
We'll get to the next item on the agenda. Request by the Hunt Living Trust.
Evening,
Good evening.
Ron Rajewski, agent representative with the trust.
So I've got basically the plat and then the plan, so I don't know which one you want up there on. So
You can start there, yeah, if you want, and then we'll do the site plan next. So I just give you an overview. This is a 52-acre parcel with a 3-acre cutout called Lot 1 with frontage on Orr Road, the class 4 portion, served by the private driveway that's recently been constructed with the turnaround that you can see on that sketch there. The house site and things we'll go over in a second. The town turnaround, if you're familiar with that, is across from the other lot that's just north of this proposed lot. You see the cut in the hedgerow there? Yeah, right there. So the town plow turnaround right there for the class 3 portion. And then it continues as a privately maintained driveway to this lot plus the 2 lots on the east side. So if you're familiar with that area, that's how it lays out today. The road is unbuilt down to Lee River Road. John Abbott's house is right on the driveway right there. That's where I think the plow trucks go up that far and turn around on that end. So there is a gap in Orr Road now.
Yeah, okay.
that's it for that. If everybody's good with the overview of where the lot is.
There was something else wasn't there something else on this property recent, in the last few years, or was it that lot on top?
Yeah.
I thought we saw this.
Yeah, the lot on top, you saw a
lot-
boundary adjustment up there.
It was a boundary adjustment on
Yeah.
that lot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the other lot that you see down is Martha Prince. That was done in '80s, early '80s, I think.
Uh-huh.
So there hasn't been any real activity on the 52 acre for quite a while.
This lot did come in for a sketch to do a subdivision, to create a lot in the back, but it hasn't passed sketch, so.
And does the 54 acres go anywhere to the other side of War Road, or is it end of War Road?
That's the 52. There's another 50 on the south side that the trust owns with the farm.
Oh, on the other side.
Yeah, the south side,
of the
yeah.
road.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you can see, I think those lines that look sort of wooded lines, that is woods, between open area and the wooded area, which is about 3/4 of the westerly side there. So
Okay.
that's what, yeah, if you had the aerial photo, you'd see all wooded area there, old sugar maples and things.
So the private road's not, the plan here is that you would maintain, or the future owner would maintain the driveway on the class 4 road down to this property.
Yeah, there'd be a shared maintenance agreement with the two other lots there.
The two other lots are where?
Just to the east of that, looks like a Y turnaround a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Those two are two driveways that go off to two lots.
Okay,
One's under construction and one's vacant
okay.
or undeveloped.
And they would, so the proposal is this driveway would go up and join.
Yeah, just before, if you're coming down Orr Road, just before you take that bend to the left to go to the one of the house that's under construction, this proposed driveway takes a right turn there.
Okay, are we gonna see that?
Yeah, that's next slide. Yeah, so you can see the right turn into the driveway with a new driveway to the proposed house site.
What's this, do you know what the slope in that driveway is? Do you have a little profile of that?
I don't have a profile, but it's less than 5%. It's almost gonna be flat when it goes in there. There's just a little bit of a sort of downgrade. So it's gonna be.
I guess I'd like to back up a little bit on this, where the class 3 ends, class 4 begins.
Yep.
And also some concerns right where Chris is pointing about what's the road look like? We're not seeing a plan of profile of the existing town road. Do we need to upgrade the town road?
That work was done with the house that's under construction. You guys approved a reconstruction of Orr Road to meet your standards for that new house lot.
Okay.
So that little hill that you see in the contours is now to your, whatever the spec was at that time.
Okay.
For that road.
But again, so I guess back up on that. Did we get a plan of profile for that to make sure we're meeting town? And how long ago was that?
So we're 2023, so it was probably 2019, 2020 approximately.
Relatively new construction.
And do we know that it was actually built to our specifications? Although we have a time frame difference.
Well, we have not issued a CO for the residents under construction.
Okay.
And basically the highway supervisor's got a temporary curb cut
Okay.
allowance. So those things when those things come into play, then the conformance issue gets addressed.
Okay, so my question, I guess, is between now and then, although, another party has done it, it hasn't been finished. So the question becomes for me is, although someone else may have done the work, we still don't know if they've done it. So the question I guess I have is, do we need to see a plan and profile?
You're the board.
Okay, well, you have it under the other permits. That's right. It's already here.
understood.
But the
But-
final inspection is what you're talking about,
Yes.
which is related to the house construction.
Mhm.
So whatever house gets constructed, they have to comply with that.
Well, the question becomes if you move forward first, will you be responsible before they do? That's where the question becomes. So let's say you're more aggressive, you want to get your house in first, they haven't got there yet. Who's responsible for that? Because we can't issue it unless we know that it meets the standards.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that if your prior permits required compliance with those plan and profile specs, that would apply to any of those houses on that road. And nobody can go build, access something that doesn't comply, so.
Well, it is only good for a year too. Correct?
The permit, well, what's good?
The
for you?
access, isn't the highway access permit
No.
good for 1 year?
No.
No?
No.
Okay,
So what ends up happening basically is you apply for you apply for the curb cut access. And basically, you say, here's how it's gonna be designed and built. The highway supervisor signs off on it or amends it as he sees fit. You go and you do it. You may only rough it in because you're getting heavy trucks driving it back and forth or whatever from a construction standpoint. And then basically it's finally signed off when you've finished.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example, Black Walnut Lane. That was never finished until they put the top coat on this past year, even though there were residents down lower. The other phase up above wasn't completed, at that point. So their highway access requirement wasn't fulfilled until that last time.
Yeah.
And basically the roadway was drilled to make sure that they met the proper amount of, bituminous put down and things along those lines.
okay.
So it does get checked. It's just, there's not a clean order as to when it gets checked. And basically, we traditionally tie it back to the COs.
Okay, so then we're gonna go back again. So what you're telling us, you haven't surveyed the road and we're looking at old contours. Correct? Is that what? Your engineer hasn't ran, if they've redone the
Yeah,
road.
we were only looking at the new lot subdivision because the other one was dealt with otherwise.
Understood,
Yeah.
understood, but again, if you're going to be using that section of the road, all right, it's
We
still.
expect the same conditions as the other houses because all
Correct.
three of them would be subject to the
So
same.
I'm just gonna go back,
That's fine. Yeah.
The topographic thing you show us here
doesn't
does
mean,
not show that those contours have been modified.
Right, this is just the wastewater plan, the site plan for the new lot. We weren't, the other road improvements that were already done are done under a totally separate permit. And if you want to incorporate the CO requirement, that
So-
would be
The question
expected.
is,
if
why
it's-
are we seeing, but that is your access road.
yes,
So you're
So-
showing us an access
Our
road. You're showing us an access road with incorrect contours.
yes, it doesn't meet our standards. What we're saying, I guess, in the
Oh,
long
so
run
you're
is,
telling us that-
You're tying them
telling us-
together
You're
versus.
telling us that access road, as you show it, is incorrect,
so,
that work's been done.
so basically,
We have those.
okay, so can this be updated so we see that? Can this?
Yeah, oh
plan-
yeah, sure. I mean, they're done with the same, someone engineering did it all. It's all on, digital. It's not, doesn't have to be created, just has to be overlaid. on
Okay,
this.
and that's, I guess that's where I'm going is
Then you can incorporate that. into it.
exactly, we have times with right conditions and so on, but the fact is that if you're coming in with this. In that, the contours that you're showing us for the access road are not what's there. We kind of need to see something that is current.
Yeah, we have the approved plans by the town
Okay,
for
that's
that improvement, which would be a similar condition for any of the three lots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so you ties that all together that way.
so keep in mind that may be a condition that road grading.
I don't want, we don't want to ignore that, no, but we can
Okay.
incorporate it so
Yep.
it's easier.
That's fine. So that was the one, it just again, Chris, there's no, and I looked through the regs and I didn't see it, but there's no issues whether frontage is on a class 3 or class 4 town road. Doesn't matter as long as it's a town road.
It's on a right of way, town right of way.
Okay.
This is not a town road. This is a private drive. It's been incorporated on a town right of way.
Yeah.
So there's three.
We heard it was a class 4 road. Is it a class 4 road?
It is a class 4 road.
It's classified
To
as
me,
a class.
to me, it's a farm field.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
a class 4 road, I guess, is a trail, and if a definition of a class 4 road allows for, a farm field, because the right of way has been put there and there's not any road improvements, then yes, it's a class
Okay.
4.
It has to be, our documents say it has to be on the road.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Well-
allow it to be on the right of way.
But actually, I looked. So right now, the way V-Trans has it, our highway map from 2018,
Mhm.
they show it as being unpassable, but it's also it is a class 4 town road.
Okay.
So that's what the town's getting covered by. So again, I took a look. I just wanted to make sure if
The
you,
Class 4 work, they didn't take that out.
a class 4 road typically is, the town is under no
I thought
requirement
the
to
town-
maintain
I thought
it.
the town went through and cleaned up a bunch of little class 4 roads, took them off the.
No, we still.
Could have, you
Well,
could have done that, but you didn't.
Well, those were
We took-
actually.
We took some out, I didn't,
Ancient
this one-
roads you did,
Those were, that was a little different. That was called the
ancient roads.
Ancient Roads Act and so on, and
Uh-huh.
we've kind of cleaned that up. So again, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't see or miss something in the town regs that changed it. So from your point of view, Chris, they fall under the driveway standards and not the road standards, because we're still only at 3.
Yes.
It's a hybrid. I guess.
As far as questions, I mean, that's all I had.
so I have the same point now that you have 3. Right, so so that at 3, the change go to go from driveway to town road spec?
Not after 3. After 3, yes. Up to 3 residential lots could be on a driveway.
Yeah, one way to look at it is where you have the town class 3 turnaround, which is
Uh-huh.
about 200 feet north of that new Y,
Uh-huh.
let's call it, versus the hill turnaround.
Up here.
Yeah, up there is that the 3 driveway, the 3 house driveway comes into that class 3 as far as public interest goes, because your plow turns around up there. The rest of it is privately maintained with permission to use the right of way.
Correct.
The public is not prohibited from coming down that public right of way, even though it's privately maintained. So there's it's got a bunch of layers there that
Uh-huh.
Are a little bit confusing, but
The one thing we'll want, I believe with the approved plan, and you can overlay it and all
Yeah.
that stuff too, was the fire department wanted some form of hammerhead at the bottom for the allowance. So basically, we're gonna want to make sure that what was approved for 2 is still sort of consistent for the fire department at 3, or if it needs to be widened or adjusted because of a different turning radius or whatever it may be. That information should probably be at least developed and addressed so the fire department can have a look at it.
yeah, we contact, is it Matt? Until Jericho,
What?
Matt is his name. We send an email saying, hey, we're
Sure.
doing this. Can you at least comply with our width, for the driveway to the house, 30-foot radius? So that's part of that design when it comes down.
Not Chaplin.
Yeah.
He's the
Chapman,
fire guy.
yeah.
So we still want to make
Matt has
sure,
already seen this.
Yeah, yeah. So he wanted us to make sure that comply with what Chris just said.
it'd be good to get that documentation, because basically, when the Trotters came in, they wanted, there was the request that basically coming down and accessing in here, whether there was a hammerhead within the right of way or on the Trotter, I just don't remember, because they wanted to be able to, they didn't want to have to back up. They want to be able to turn around
Yeah.
and drive up. And because we've got, this is a little, without this, we had this addressed. Now this is being a component in here. We just want to make sure that this component meets with this, or this area, meets with basically any concerns that the fire department has with regards to access.
So,
Yeah, I think it'd be an improvement because you have another driveway to turn around in.
so that's where the hammerhead has to be beyond or just after the last driveway, correct?
The what?
The hammerhead.
I believe so. I'd have to go back and look at the original.
Well, yeah, that's the question. How much do we, when you revise this,
Mhm.
whether you want to do a plan profile or whatever, it's not that big. But anyway,
Mhm.
well, again, that's what they want. They'll have to be reflected on the.
Yeah,
site plan.
I'm pretty sure when they did this, the Trotter lot over there, they worked hard to get that design done for the
Mhm.
fire department,
Yep.
so they could come down and.
And
do
that
the
might be
turnaround.
just, you gotta take theirs and
Yeah.
integrate with yours.
Yeah.
And did Summit do Trout Cheers work too? Okay.
yeah, it'll be pretty easy to put together.
Yep,
So.
okay.
Well, we just want to make sure, because if this is an access here and this other access is up here, they're not going to be able to use the hammerhead. We just want to make sure
Well,
that
that's-
basically everything
Yes.
flows
Okay,
together.
Yeah, when we marry the two plans, we'll make sure that fire had their okay on the turnaround at that point.
Do you want to take us through the septic and water?
Yep, so you have the house that's sort of on that high point toward the middle of the lot. You have the wastewater plan that's being reviewed and approved eventually by the state of Vermont right there. There'll be an integrated primary and replacement system, alternating trench design up in that corner, so there's not a second location. They're using that location for both the primary and replacement area. The well is to the south of the house and isolation.
Which way is it? You said that's the top of the hill where the house is?
Yeah, you'll see the house kind of where the house is located
Uh-huh.
is the sort of the top of that slope.
So everything else is dropping.
Yeah, right. And then the well is a little bit down slope of the house. And that really is the extent of the improvements. It's really just a basic on-site type proposal for water and wastewater.
On the site plan, I'm not seeing any building setbacks. I take it from the staff notes, Chris, they're compliant with what they're looking at for house and everything?
Yeah, they'll be compliant. I mean, what's not showing out on there is basically building envelope. They're definitely meeting the setbacks.
Yeah, the proposal is to build it as shown. So it's more of a, different than certain setbacks because we're not asking for a building envelope other than that immediate area around that proposed house.
And it looks like it's all cleared already, so you're just plopping the house. There's no extra clearing. I do see you have a class 3 wetland, but doesn't have much importance of class 3. Was a wetland delineated by a wetland?
Yeah, they were up there this fall.
How far does the village, this is in the village district? How far
Yes.
does the village district extend up there?
See
Seems
where
a
my
long
cursor,
way
see where
from-
my
seems
cursor
like a
is?
long way from any village.
See where my cursor is?
Yeah.
That's the edge probably between the low density residential and the village.
Where does the village,
The village is on this side.
and it connects all the way over to where?
They're approximately right here.
And what,
Or road is the boundary line.
But where's the?
Inside, it's on the other side of Orr Road, unfortunately.
so what is the
And
minimum?
that comes all the way back?
One
Minimum lot
acre.
size is 1 acre.
That comes
One
all the way
acre,
back?
so you could subdivide again.
Oh, right. If it's gonna be subdivided again, that's not gonna be this proposal.
No, but I'm just saying, if the minimum lot size is 1 acre, you could.
So is there a map in here, of the village?
Yeah, it's on the. See brown? The brown, the brown color, that's the
Oh.
village.
Okay.
Brown, green, red. The one thing that's still lacking from the application are all the legals. Which need to be developed and put together as well as.
Shared.
As well as any sort of maintenance agreement with regards to the properties involved. So those are things that are being held out because this is one lot. The legals shouldn't be very difficult to put together, or they shouldn't be very complicated. There's no overlay districts that are impacted by this proposal.
You're only referring to the shared rate maintenance because there's no common land or shared, it's just the shared road maintenance.
Was a private drive that basically somebody improved that you're planning on using. So I
Right.
think neighbors should talk to neighbors and.
We
Make
have
sure
a
everybody's happy.
proposed, we submitted with the application, a proposal that is with Trottier, which is in their deed that we're gonna join with this deed.
But we don't have any legals. You got somebody else's work.
Yeah, no, but
You're
that's the
showing us-
concept, right? So the existing language is already there for Trottier and the other lot. So we're gonna add a third party to that and revise it as part of the deed.
I guess you probably should talk to all the parties and make sure everybody's.
Yeah.
in
Well,
agreement.
we still gotta open up the public comment.
Yeah, no, that was a concept anyway.
But other than that, from staff standpoint,
Okay.
things are covered.
Ben, you have any questions?
Any trails, wildlife corridors, or any other committees that need to weigh in on this area?
The,
You heard back from the Conservation Commission? or the
Yeah,
Trails Commission or
the-
anything on this?
did you guys contact any of the advisory committees? I mean, I don't know.
No, there's no proposal for anything new, and there's none that we know that are existing on the property. There's no natural resources or any of those things on the map.
You know, typically the all the standing committees that have input are reached out to say, are there any comments and so on. I guess the question I have, Chris, is there any community owned land around this? Is there any parks, anything touch it?
No,
Okay, so it's a standalone lot.
Yeah.
And with the only consideration is we have a class 4 town road that runs in front of it. That, okay. Which does provide community access.
yes. Probably the answer to your question, Ben, is the advisory committees haven't been contacted on this. And probably the reason being is that traditionally these things go to sketch, just jump right to final. I guess that they weren't advised to contact them. I just don't remember if that got pointed out or not. But in this instance, I have to go back and look at, if anything, with regards to the Trotter subdivision, if there was anything that was recommended from advisory committees on their property that may apply or be applicable next door. If that answers your question.
It does, thanks.
Is there anything else?
I'm done with questions for me right now.
Chris, do you have any other?
No, I don't.
Do we have any public comment from in the room? Andrew?
You gotta come up, Andrew. Ron, you may want to give.
And
us a-
did you sign in, Andrew?
I have not yet.
You, yeah. If you're gonna play the other side, yes, you probably should sign in.
But I did say yes, so I want to turn you up.
I did hear you say yes.
Just can't spell.
All right. So my name is Andrew Chardane, and I am not a direct abutting landowner, but I am one of the owners on the second lot that's beyond the Trottier lot. So I'm here representing Ed and Joanne Trottier, who are here, and Kristen Trottier, who's also on the call. So just a few questions on our end while we review the application. So I think part of the discussion that already happened was regarding the clarification of the drive that's coming down off of Orr Road. I think that Joe and Jeff have already addressed the question regarding the topography and the correct slopes and all that. I think we are also just requesting that the annotations on the plan just more accurately represent what is Orr Road, what is the right of way, what the class of those are. Also, what is considered the private driveway, where it starts and where it stops. And then also clearly delineating where the driveways are. I can't quite see, Chris, if you zoom in where our driveway comes in at the bottom of the drive. It says private drive there. And then also the section that goes down, that is the second private drive. I think it would be helpful to clearly delineate that.
That's
Now-
a Orr Road. Yeah, it should be private drive.
Exactly. And then also labeling ours as a private drive, which would then delineate that we've had 3 private drives now.
So
off
you
of
want
that.
some just good delineation about,
That's right.
here's the class 4, class 3, here's a private drive and so on, just,
That's right.
okay.
Yep. I think that you've addressed a question about the hammerhead and regarding the easement that currently exists, and that if the Underhill Jericho Fire Department is going to be consulted, we would ask the applicant that they please contact us to be part of that conversation, because clearly with 3 parties involved, we would want the best solution, design solution to resolve the request of the town and the fire department. So I think there's clarification of the plans. You noted that, the annotations. Regarding the maintenance agreement, we have been in conversations with the potential owners of the property and the applicant, which has been a good start. We do want to clarify that in the application, the deeds that were submitted, as Chris noted, are the deeds of the Trottiers. However, the deeds reflect our agreement between our 2 lots. It does not address the private drive that's coming down off of the road. So this would have to be a separate maintenance agreement altogether, and we're not looking for some kind of amendment to our deeds for our properties. Another comment that we have is we just want to verify, we know that Summit Engineering has done the work on this property. They did the work for the adjacent 2 parcels as well. This is more of a clarification. I'm not an engineer by any means, but the proposed drilled well, Summit does not show the septic shield overlay for the adjacent property. We would just want them to, I think that should be delineated, especially for the applicant's sake here, because it does cross over the right of way onto the meadow portion up here. So not sure, I know the state reviews that, but I think it's something that should be worth noting here.
Yeah, that should be part of that state permit review that's going on now.
Yep. We also want to clarify that the applicant had noted the bottom of the private drive as being a turnaround, which it is not considered. They did accurately note that the top is where the town plow turns around, but the bottom of the driveway is not technically considered a turnaround. Those are private drives. We had a
You're
question.
specifically to the plow turnaround. Is that what you meant?
Can we not engaging?
Yeah, he comes to us and then
Oh,
we
that's
try to
right.
answer.
Another question that we have for the applicant is that in our conversations with the applicant in the past, there was conversation about language in the deeds for subdividing this property as a 3-acre parcel with no option to subdivide into 1-acre lots into the future. That's just a conversation that we've had. We're curious if that will be represented in the deeds and if that was something that was planned to move forward as part of this application. Another question that we have for the applicant that we just don't see on the plan, whether it came to fruition or not. We know that there's no current development plans beyond this parcel, but there was discussion of a potential right-of-way at the southerly portion of the lot, a 40 or 60-foot right-of-way that could potentially access the lands beyond.
In this area?
Right above your cursor, essentially along so go down to the bottom of the lot, proposed lot line, right?
Yeah.
So right across there. There was discussion of that. Again, this is just a question as to whether or not that's being considered for future use, because if it's not depicted on the plan here, but if it were to be part of the conversation, it would also impact future maintenance agreement for how this private drive would be, it should be accessed in the future, right of way back to a property. So we'd want to make sure that that was accounted for. I think with that, those were our questions. So unless Ed or Joanne or Kristen have any further questions, I think. Okay. Thanks.
I'd like to address any of this.
Well, let's go to the public.
Yeah,
Okay.
see if anyone's up here first.
Get the list again.
So anybody, if anybody online's got a question related to this application, put your hand up so we can let you come in. Please. Nobody? Nobody? Okay, thank you.
Anyone? Anyone?
Okay. So basically,
Okay.
the questions Andrew raised.
So, would you like to go ahead?
I had one clarification on the turnaround. I think when I was talking about turnaround, I meant that the town plow turnaround is up 200 feet uphill. And you said it wasn't a turnaround, but I think the fire department was asking for that for them to be able to turn around somewhere down there where you have your shared. So I didn't want to confuse turnaround with plow or public or whatever. I think if there's a public class 3 turnaround at the top. And then there's the Y for the new driveways and the discussion we're gonna have with the fire department to figure out exactly what they want down there with the 3 driveways
Well,
for their turnaround purposes.
I do think in the end, wherever the fire department hammerhead is, will become the new, maybe the plow turnaround. I mean,
No,
no,
no.
they're not gonna go beyond it because of the private drive. So
No,
you're
no,
gonna,
extended
so
class.
you're gonna have like 2 turnarounds then.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify, that we're talking about a
Okay.
public class 3 turnaround at the top of the hill, which is 200 feet up from the 3 driveway split, let's call it. The fire department may want a turnaround or different design where the 2 driveways come off or roads right away. And integrate that with the 3rd driveway somehow, some final design that they're happy with.
Okay.
So that was my only follow-up on that. The only way that the town plows would come down is if you had an extension of the class 3, either all the way to Lee River or to
Yeah.
this new turnaround, but that's not part of this plan.
I'd like to kind of, before we go into these questions, I kind of, I don't think we have enough, I don't think we have enough to decide. I think we need to have the fire department thing worked out. I think we need to see that. I think we need to see the shared driveway agreement, from both parties, that we have a plan here for a shared driveway. And I think we need to see the septic
Shield.
shield. And
I would agree with you, Jeff.
and we need to see the input from the
Yeah.
Trails and Conservation Committee. I don't really, I know we were trying to do this in one shot, and I don't think we made it.
That's one of the benefits of sketch, and then here, at least the 2-step, it gets us there. But I'm gonna agree with Jeff, the comments, definitely. I think we've vetted most of the stuff, most of the concerns, mostly centered around the right of way and getting that finalized. So I'm leaning towards, basically having to continue this to you supply the engineering plans, draft legals, work out the maintenance agreement with the neighbors, get the input from the fire department. So when we come back in, it's bang, 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 we're done. But it's a lot of stuff for us. I think that it's a lot of work for Chris to try to condition this.
I don't think this, we try and condition things, and I don't see that we're there. That we're close enough to the pin to close this with conditions.
So what we can do for the applicants, we've received public comment. We've got DRB comment. We can create essentially a punch list. We can create a punch list to provide them to address for the continuation.
Okay. Do I have a
And
proposal
that
to
way, it's coming from you guys and it's clear to them what you're looking for. So basically it's a done, we can take care of it.
Does Ben think we should? What's Ben's thoughts?
I agree with you guys.
So we don't close the hearing, but we still offer, you'll have findings of fact, correct? But there's no.
There's gonna be a there'll be a continuation. You're gonna make a motion to continue. And so from a clarity standpoint, I'm gonna provide the applicant a list of items that need to be addressed to close it out.
So typically, it's not even finding a fact because we're not rendering a decision. So
No, there's no
it's just gonna be
decision.
between you two working out
Right.
the details.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and since I'm your staff, I'll end up basically clearly understanding what you're looking for, so then that way I can transcribe it.
Okay.
That way everybody's on the same page moving forward.
So I have a motion to continue.
I'll second that motion to continue.
Okay, so I've made a motion to continue to date certain.
So our next available,
Oh, we got to vote.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
so the next hearing the DRB will have will be February 22nd. Do you think that's enough time for you to get your information together?
I think it's all done. It really depends on what the fire department comes back with and how quick they can tell us what they are happy with.
It's also interaction with the legals too.
Yeah, no, that's like Andrew said, we're already in sort of motion of that.
Sorry, I was gonna add, Melanie Jansky. We contacted the fire department and sent them the sketches, explained the situation and asked them to give us their, whatever their issuance report is, regarding ability to serve this lot. And they basically said, we're not gonna do it. They've already reviewed the situation with Trottier and the access really isn't any different. And they just didn't want to see it. So I just wanted to make sure that I don't have any idea where we're gonna get with the fire department, because
We're gonna try again.
we're gonna try again. Well,
You're gonna try again.
but when I presented
Because
it,
we-
I said, I don't want to get to this board and have a continuance because of the fire department. So it's a little bit disappointing.
Okay.
I'm not sure what they'll say. I mean, we can say that the DRB is requesting that we can't go forward until you tell us, give us a letter of approval, I think.
Part
they call it.
of the fire department's issue doesn't deal with this specific access. It's their dissatisfaction with the design of Orr Road.
Yeah.
So, which,
So,
I would just
So-
like you make another, I would, we'll work out the punch list.
well, actually,
If that's the response we get officially from the fire department, we'll deal with it on the 24th.
well, actually,
You have
roads
that
are under
already.
but roads are under the purview of the select board. You can meet with the select board. Okay? That is an avenue for you, again, they have the last say on roads and whatever, like, so this is a town road. If it's a question of the fire department not liking our road, you can meet with the select board and request something from them.
And
So,
the road supervisor's approval.
you got his approval for a curb cut.
but that's just the curve cut. That's not the road overall. And again, the issue of what I'm gathering is Orr Road section overall. Am I correct?
Yeah.
The actual width of Orr Road itself doesn't meet your own town standards.
So if you do not meet the town standards, that comes under the select board's control. Again, they can issue waivers and so on. So that may be one thing you want to touch base on. Get a hold of select board, talk to select board.
Well, It's a little circular.
We'll provide you a punch list that we can look to hammer out the avenues or details. I don't, Joe's point that he's provided, that is an avenue. I'm not sure that, the fire department can really, because they're dissatisfied with Orr Road, hold other things hostage, especially if they signed off in the past. So seems a little.
I'm on board with you on that. I
seems a
agree.
little inconsistent.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but nothing's changing with this particular road and the way it was renovated to add one more house. So I don't, how did Trottier get approved without fire approval and with whatever select board conditions?
I believe they had fire approval.
I'm just saying,
Well, we
this
can-
line is coming off before
Again,
Trottier.
Yeah, and this is again why there's some questions that hopefully between Chris, our discussion, we can get back to you.
But
with
we
some-
want to come back with what you need. So if the fire department says, we're not changing our position. And the select board says, do whatever the fire department wants. And the road supervisor already gave us approval for the curb cut.
Well, again, we can,
We're may not change anything.
we have to discuss that. And again, even regardless of that, we still have enough questions that we believe we need to continue it. So regardless of that, so.
The overshadowing is up the state of Vermont. That's gonna be dealt with by the state permit that's pending.
They're asking for it to be on the plan, which you can put it on the plan.
It's
so
gonna
it's not
have,
on the plan,
it's the
so-
state of Vermont gonna have, the state of Vermont permit will have it on here. The shadowing of that existing or proposed system on Chardane has only the impact that it does within the state permit system, has no local impacts at all. So I don't know how showing it to the DRB has any impact other than comply with your state permit, which is in your rules, is to comply with the state permit.
Understood, but again, there's still questions of updating plan. It's difficult, if we leave it for these conditions, then we put all the weight of the decisions of whether the plans meet upon Chris. And we typically, when it comes to that, I don't think we want to put that load on him to make Chris make a call whether it's fine or not. And again, it's tough to go, coming for final without any sketch, without any preview. That's a big step. Typically, we like to see one or two.
I heard that from Chris a couple times, but I think the rules that you've written in your bylaw are suggestive to come to sketch. It's if you have a totally basic minor subdivision, your rules do encourage you to go through to the final.
No, they encourage you to go to sketch.
Well, it says encourage, but as you go through the checkoff list and we've
You
checked
can
all the
go to final,
boxes.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're
you can.
we're getting into semantics here
Yeah.
that aren't gonna get solved. And there's been a motion, there's been a vote on a motion, and there's gonna be a continuance. The question is
What's on the list? What can be
what's on the
done?
list and is.
And you'll be gentle when we come back and are in the
Well,
same
before
position.
we leave, we need to have a time certain date that you're coming
Yeah.
back. And that hasn't been established yet. And we're offering February 22nd. The question was asked with regards
Yeah.
to, will you be prepared? We have an example tonight where a previous applicant thought they were going to be prepared. They were continued to tonight. We found out last night, 5:30 that they weren't ready. So
My guess is that the fire department, based on the prior conversation with them, which would be the only difficulty, is very quick to respond. They were within days, so I don't expect them to be a delay with putting us back in this
so
position.
the 22nd is good.
Sir,
So this will be continued to February 22nd. Yeah, February 22nd.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
We have one more item of new business, which is to approve the minutes from January 11th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Andrew's going to rejoin.
Yeah,
us
it's got to
to
review
that
this now
meeting.
because Joe can't.
I was not there. Dan, do you have a motion to approve the minutes from January 11th?
I had one question on the minutes, actually.
Okay,
Said the participants were sworn in, that was not done. Is that my
not.
recollection?
right.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Participants were not sworn in. I missed that when apparently I did not swear the participants in that.
Okay. I guess I missed that. So if you really didn't do that, then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I believe the others present includes John Abbott as John A.
Yeah.
You need to tell your boss to get his signature right. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
second it.
The Ben's got the motion, okay. Jeff, your second.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right, we'll adjourn the meeting.
So I don't know if we have much to, so
I'd like to go into discussion on the bullet list and
okay,
then
so
ask
let's get.
Andrew to
Okay, both.
take Andrew.
Yeah, so what we need to do basically is if the participants online, they will step away, then you can hang out for a second, and then we can go onto our other business. I'm going to,
Andrew, do you have any other business to discuss in deliberative? Or you good?
But actually, if you want to discuss anything on the first one, I can duck out for a bit.
Well,
I don't think we need to, as a sketch hearing. I didn't have any questions.
I don't have anything.
Let's just wait till.
okay, can I get the rest of the people to remove themselves from the online meeting, please? I'm going to stop the recording.